Yeah, so thank you, Akanksha. And it feels good to be on this stage. I would like to take this time to, first of all, thank GeekyAnts to build this amazing stock lineup. And I know for sure that all these topics about state management, about optimization, about how to use Flutter uh, and animations. So everything will be very useful for people at every level, either you're a student or a seasoned developer. Things you'll find something new, or maybe you have learned something. So let me start with a question. So, have you tried creating animations with Android toolkit or iOS? And only a few. So, how was it? And have you tried with Flutter? So yeah, you got the point. And so coming back to integrating Flutter into native, have you got the chance to do this, probably just to try it out or at your work? I know one person, and hasn't Gaurav tried? Yeah, from so Gaurav sir is from Musk, and they have a crazy story about how they moved to Flutter. You can listen to that from him. So when you will want to need you will want to use Flutter and into native. So for example, you have a product that is already built using native, probably Android or iOS, and you want to use capabilities of Flutter to build something like a very cool animation that is probably a little bit hard with your native toolkit, or you want to build whole features, and you want to build that using Flutter for the obvious reasons of cost and time benefits that it gives, and developer experience is something that we all know about. So this is possible with the feature called add to app. It is called add to app, and it provides you full access to Flutter SDK. You can share all the logic between native and Flutter. There is no compromise in performance. It runs as fast as native, and it will run as fast as a Flutter app. All the debugging tools are available to you, and all the pub.dev packages are also there. So you wonder how it works. If you're a native dev, if you have tried native, you want to know how it all connects. So the thing is that Flutter provides you on Android a Flutter activity, and on iOS Flutter view controller. So these things can host Flutter engine in it, and on Flutter engine you can run your Flutter code, any Dart code. So that is how it works, and we'll see how to actually do it, the process. So first is you create a module style project, and then you integrate it, and we'll see the first one, creation. So for creation you have all the familiar options. You can either try to create a Flutter module project using Flutter create command. Just select the type module, and the same goes for Android Studio. You can select the project type as module, and you'll get a project which is created from a module template. But make sure that your Flutter module sits at sibling level to your other native projects, like your Flutter, like your Android or iOS app. So we'll see how to integrate into Android. You have the module, you have written some code inside it, now you want to integrate it. So there are two options for Android. First is building an AR out of your Flutter module, and then what is AR? AR is Android archive. It is a library format, or say similar to a package, but for native Android. So to build an AR, we have a command in Flutter called Flutter build AR, and it will build the required files, and it will also give you the steps that you have to follow to get this implemented in your native project. You can simply follow this and it will be done. Second is source integration. This is a one-step process. You only have to change two files, settings.gradle and build.gradle, and once that is done, whenever you run your native project, it will first of all build your Flutter module and then integrate that into your Android project and run it. And for iOS, we also have, for iOS also we have two options. First is the popular one, Cocoa Pods, and second is frameworks. So for Cocoa Pods, you only have to modify pod file. There are earlier there were only 2 lines to modify. Now it is 4 after introduction of Apple Silicon, and you then run pod install, and it will do the needful to integrate the module and to your project. Second way is to build frameworks. So Flutter module can be built as a framework, and then it can be integrated into your iOS project the way you do. So to build a framework out of your Flutter module, you have a command, Flutter build iOS framework, and it will output the required files, and then you link it inside your Xcode and then you embed it. Embedding means that the needed files will be compiled when you are trying to publish or run the project. So the files will be embedded inside the final target, and then you can then it can run on simulator or devices. So we have completed the integration and also creation. Now how to invoke it, how to actually open the Flutter view when something happens. So on Android, it is very similar to how you build an activity and launch it. So here you can create a Flutter activity with a new engine and then build it and start the activity. Same goes for an iOS side, very familiar. You can use Flutter view controller that is provided, which can host a Flutter engine, and then you present the view controller. So these are very familiar to any native developers. So that's integration, and when you are actually developing, you need the Flutter tools like a debugger, like ID support, like inspection. So you can do that by using Flutter attach. So all the supported IDs support this command called Flutter attach. In VS Code, it is called attach to a Dart process, and it will connect to the running app, and it will let you use all the tools that you have with any Flutter app, like debugging support in the IDE. You can run this dev tools and do inspection like I've shown here. Then this is the whole circle. Now when you actually start doing it, you may face a few problems, challenges, and I want to show 3 of them. First is integrating multiple modules. So Flutter Add to App does not support having multiple modules. For example, if you want to build 2 features, 2 teams are building separate features, and then you want both of those features inside your native app. So that is not possible by default, but there is a workaround. So the workaround is you build one module and then integrate other Flutter modules inside your pubspec YAML, so that you can only build one common module and integrate it the way we have just shown. So it's that simple, and it would work normally. Second issue that you may face is that whenever you are trying to open a view, open the Flutter view, it will take some time, and that is because Flutter engine needs some time to warm up, and that takes 1 to 3 seconds, and you may not, your users may not like it. So there is a solution here again. So this is a sample of it taking some time, and the solution is to use something called Flutter engine cache. This engine cache lets you pre-warm an engine, prepare an engine and then put it in the cache, and whenever you need it, you can just use it, pull it from the cache, and then run it. And the result is very fast launch, as you can see. Yeah. Next is reusing existing code. So you may have written a lot of code like getting refresh token, sending analytics, getting remote config, and anything else. But when you are trying to build a feature in Flutter, you will want those things in Flutter also. So you do not want to write everything again, integrate whole Flutter what do you call it, Firebase analytics again, or refresh token logic. No. So what you can do, you can invoke method channels from Flutter, and then you can handle them inside your native apps. And what it will do, it will whenever a method is invoked, it will check the parameters, if any or anything, and it will process it. I mean, you can run your native code and send the result back or not, it's your choice. Here is an example. So we have created a method channel and invoke and made and we invoked a few events, few methods. Second one contains some arguments also. And on native side, this is an example of Kotlin. So here also you can create a channel and then listen to all the invocations that are happening and handle them. And here you can run your native code. And you can also send back the results. For example, send back the refreshed token. So other challenges, there are many things that you would want to adjust, like CI/CD workflows. If you have existing ones, you'll have to adopt this new process. Manage versioning, you can use Git tags or publish the AR or frameworks. And another challenge is finding out issues. So when something happens on production, you'll have to find out what happened. So for that, you can integrate Firebase Crashlytics plugin in Flutter module also, and also in native. I mean, it can live together. There are process, and you can also use method channels to send logs for the important events and see what happened when it happened. So this was the short process of how you do it. And okay, let me summarize. So all the references available on this website, development/add-to-app on docs. And first step was creation. You can create a Flutter module using Terminal or Android Studio. Just make sure that your project is at sibling level. Second is integration. You can integrate using on Android and on iOS. You have two options on both. On Android, you have AAR or source integration. On iOS, you have Cocoa pods or frameworks. While invoking, you can use method channels. You can use a Flutter activity or Flutter view controller. And when debugging, all the IDs have features to attach to the running Flutter instance. And we saw a few challenges like app getting slow or reusing the code. So I hope that if you are in a company where you have an app built in native and you want to use the benefits of Flutter, probably build a feature or a single screen using Flutter, you will be able to do it. And if you do not have a use case now, probably in future when you have to, you'll not need to start from afresh. You'll have some context. So thank you for listening, and if there are any questions. Yes.
Is this only to migrate? Like I have a native web build, so add-to-app is only for migrating, for adding only one particular feature.
You can use it in the way you want. So thank you for the question. This was a good one. So you can use this to keep only some features built in Flutter, or you can what you can do, you can plan your whole migration using it. For example, you have n number of features and you have thought that let's migrate these few features first and then integrate into your app, and then open those features, open those changes via remote config flag to only a few users, and test it how it works. If it is going good, you gradually migrate all your features into Flutter, and then there will be one day when you can completely move to your Flutter code base. So you can use it the way you want.
In the end, we need to rewrite the code, native code.
No, it's your choice. If you want to do migration, you can do step by step, phase by phase, or you can choose to not do migration but use the benefits of Flutter, probably building a very complex animation or a workflow like that. Yeah.
Just one follow-up.
Yeah.
That after integration, what commands we use? Native commands or Flutter commands?
So we saw a few examples here. So on native also you have multiple options for Android and multiple options for iOS. So depends on what you choose. If you choose to build AR all the time, then you will have to run Flutter build AR and integrate into your workflows. And if not, then if you've chosen source integration, then it is one step process. Once you change it, you can press run button in your Android Studio and it will do a compilation of your Flutter module also and your Android project, and then run it.
How about navigation? Is it like, do you recommend sharing it, or like, or maybe just give that control to Flutter once people enter the user enter the Flutter world?
So you saw that it is using Flutter activity, right? So as soon as you start the Flutter activity, your Android navigation ends. After that, you can use Flutter's navigation capabilities and manage routing there.
So with the help of iOS 13, right? So they have introduced something called scene delegate. Right?
What do you call it?
Scene delegate.
Scene delegate. Okay.
Native iOS used to have app delegate, but
Hmm.
now they have introduced also scene delegate. So if you've seen in the newer iPad applications or new version, so we can run multiple instances of the same application at the same time. So if we try to integrate this Flutter state, like will it be compatible? Two instances running of a native application.
Okay. Running multiple instances of Flutter, I mean, probably you have created something with Flutter and then want to use that feature.
In the iOS, like the app is in iOS,
Hmm.
we can run multiple instances
Hmm.
of the same device.
Yeah. So
This will be compatible with that.
I'll try to answer this. I do not have knowledge of this new feature that came in, but what I can say is, because iOS is providing this capability, whether you have an existing app built entirely using Flutter, I think you can still go inside the iOS side of it. You can open the iOS folder in your Xcode and integrate this new feature, support this new feature, and it should run normally. And in our case, if you have integrated only some part, I mean, if you have built only some part using Flutter, then I don't think there will be any difference, because it is a package for us, Cocoa Pods or a framework, and it will become at the end your part of your application itself. So Flutter does not have to manage anything or affect anything. iOS will handle when to open, how to open, and how to isolate two apps or two instances of engine, for example. So I think that it should work normally. But you'll have to check. Thank you. And my Twitter handle is this. You can reach out to me if you have any questions around integration. And there are many details that I had to omit for simplicity of understanding. But if you have any specific use case and just want to ask a question, feel free to contact me or look at the docs. Thank you.